So some of you may have heard, but we got t-shirts made. Set that up there. So with everything going on, folks at the church, especially our wonderful democracy action team, wanted something that they could wear to protests, community events, or even just to the grocery store. Some sort of easy way to say who we are and what we side with. But a point that kept coming up in the conversations around these shirts was this point of safety and security. Quite a few people were concerned over the ways that advertising ourselves like this can put us at risk. This congregation is very aware of the ways that publicly identifying ourselves can and will draw dangerous attention. It was not very long ago that Reverend Lucas faced those exact consequences for speaking out for a trans student in our community. I know for some of us, the idea of a branded t-shirt feels like painting a target on our backs. These are not hypothetical what-ifs. They are very real threats on our safety and our well-being. And with those threats looming ever closer, it's only natural to ask ourselves if something is too great of a risk. Now, being in seminary, of course, my mind goes to a book. As part of my constructive theology class, we read A Feminist Ethic of Risk by ethicist Sharon Welch. Welch describes the titular ethic of risk as a counter to the cultured despair that stems from what she calls an ethic of control. For Welch, the ethic of control is a pervasive and complex problem that instills in otherwise good people a reluctance to do the work that can change the world. It starts with an uncertainty around the outcome of social justice. What if it doesn't work? This uncertainty leads to fear and anxiety about the possible consequences of taking action, which mires one down so much that they turn to despair, defaulting to a mindset that that's just the way it is, there's nothing that can be done, and lamenting the state of the world rather than trying to do something about it. As Welch describes, society primes us to seek control and instills in us a sense of anxiety when we don't have it. For an extremely visceral example of this, if you typically drive but are riding shotgun, and the person driving doesn't step on the brake quite as early as you would, how many of us step on the imaginary brake in the passenger seat? It's baked into us from an early age to not like not being in control. Of course, this causes a problem when we engage with social justice work because that kind of work tends to force us to give up control. The problems that we face today, problems like racism, sexism, homophobia and transphobia, climate change, the general abuse of power, these problems are both massive and pervasive. They are enormous issues that have infected every layer of our lives. These issues are so massive that it is an impossible task for one person to solve everything. And we can accept that intellectually, but trusting someone else to help us do the work means relinquishing some amount of control over it. It means riding shotgun from time to time. With how much we're going to need to change, we're going to have to put a lot of trust in a lot of different people. Racism, for example, exists in hiring practices as much as it does in real estate or who gets a bus pass. And dismantling it will require the transformation of everything that it has touched. We aren't just talking about replacing a few politicians and passing a couple of bills. The kind of change we need is radical and a total reimagining of the world around us. And that reimagining frightens us because we know that we alone cannot control the outcome. It's really hard to bet the world on someone else. The hinging point of this ethic of control, where it turns into that culture of despair and inaction, is risk. When we don't have a control over the situation, we begin to evaluate what we stand to lose should things not work out. And the more control we have over our lives, the more we have to lose, the less likely we are to risk that control. As Welch discovers, when someone's coming from a place of privilege or control, and they know that they are privileged, the fear of losing that control, of becoming like the disenfranchised, frequently drives them to inaction. An ethic of control leads to the assumption that it's better to enjoy my privilege while I have it than risk it on the 1,000,000-to-1 chance of a better world. And I want to reiterate, the people Welch is talking about are good people, informed people, people who know how wrong the world is, but have the privilege of being able to look away. People who do not have to wear their vulnerabilities on their skin or carry them out in the open anywhere they go. People who can take off the shirt, so to speak. Those people, those good people are the ones who, when it comes to taking a chance on a brighter future, so painfully often hold some part of themselves back. And it's here that I want to bring in our reading from today. It's called The Widow's Mite, M-I-T-E, means a very small thing. And to briefly recap it, Jesus is sitting and watching the temple donations and sees a bunch of rich people donate bags full of coins, and a poor widow offer what amounts to a few pennies. And he says that the widow's donation is far more meaningful because while others donated out of abundance, she gave all she had. The surface level message of this is a middling point about economic inequality, but the reason why I chose it today is that if we dig a little bit deeper, I think it hits at a very prescient point about this question of risk. The rich donors give only from their abundance. They only give what is safe for them to lose. And in doing so, they hold some part of themselves back as well for fear that, were they to let it go, they would fall. They cling to their wealth like a security blanket because it is the only form of control they know. The widow, however, does not have much control over her life. She has nothing else to hold back, and so she bets it all on the 1,000,000-to-1 chance that tomorrow will be a better day. Not flippantly or recklessly, but with the faith that the hands of God will catch her should she fall. And that's the secret to overcoming that despair. The faith that something will catch you. That something can be a lot of different things. For the widow, it is the hands of God, but it can also be the hands and the hearts of a congregation. We lean on each other when the work of our lives becomes too much for any one person to bear, and we are forced to take a chance on someone else. I think it is one of our greatest blessings, because the trust that we cultivate through that is vital to the resilience of this congregation and this nation and this world. Without it, we fall into the cultured despair that Welch describes, unable to relinquish what little control we have left over our lives. But with it, we can embrace the risk inherent to the work we are doing to bend the arc of the universe towards justice. This is what we advertise when we wear things like those shirts. Not just a network for those suffering from society's many ills, but for those aching to make a difference. We are telling the world that right here, right now, at 2100 Half Day Road, Deerfield, Illinois, there is a building full of people willing to support anyone who will take the 1,000,000-to-1 chance that tomorrow will be a brighter day. Come on in, we've got coffee. And personally, if wearing one means that even one more person finds their way to this congregation, then I would bet the world on them.